All right. The one skill you need to become recession proof. Why do copy templates stop working? It's because people are stupid. If you tell them what to do, they'll turn their brains off and just do the exact same thing that you did. The half-life on people's ideas is astronomically short when they're shared, especially on money Twitter, where people are fueled by envy, comparison, and greed. How many times have you have some of these email guys dropped an auto DM with a Loom script or a cold email script that stopped working 6 months later? I remember the 1-2 punch. It's been a year. Stopped working now. Everybody uses the 1-2 punch. The reason being, everybody's using this. This strategy is so burnt out you would not believe. And there's a reason for this. It's called the tragedy of the commons. So you can see this little family here, or a bunch of families here. Water's just available. I'm just going to take as much as I want. And then you see the guy here saying, yeah, it seems that there's less and less these days. Short-term self-interest leads to tragedy for all people. This is the driving factor as to why sophistication happens in markets. The reason why people are able to make a lot of money and then all of a sudden aren't able to make a lot of money is because someone who was smart came up with an idea or stumbled across a solution for something that worked incredibly well. And then they shared it with someone. And that person they shared it with either told more people about it or used it themselves and became loud about it. From there, 50 to 100 other people started using it, and they started using it en masse. And then what ends up happening is people start to use the tactic or the method, and everybody's just grasping for more and more of this water that's down here. The less water that's available to everyone, the less time that this method or tactic stays alive. The tragedy of the commons accelerates the decay of every tactic that has ever hit the internet. The people who are quick to move eat off the strategy, and then over time, as more people are peppered with it, herd immunity begins to develop amongst the crowd, which is sophistication. It's so bad that if you even look at the Facebook advertising policies, you can't make assumptions about people's states, because back in the day when it was the Wild Wild West, people were creating Facebook ads saying, do you need to lose weight? Are you diabetic? This is the X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z. Insert claim here, insert claim there. The sophistication got so bad on that it hit the public. Facebook got a hold of it and said, all right, everybody's got to stop doing this now. And you can see, even again with Christian, and props to him, because the Klaviyo angle that he made here worked. And this was July 2022. I think I heard about this for the first time at November 2021. So it was under wraps for a little while, but yeah, he got a new Klaviyo angle after a little while. You know, I think I have the best cold email angle. I thought the same when I came up with the use Klaviyo for email marketing. Shared it angle with Twitter and ruined it. Safe to say this angle won't be coming to Twitter. It was shared in like February or March of 2022. I need to cross-reference that because it was shared 2022 at some point. Hold on, let me just check that this is okay. Cool, still recording. I've done this twice now and it stopped recording both times. But yeah, this Klaviyo angle worked, and props to Christian because he's made a few bangers. He's done this a number of times, and when they work, they really work. And you need to be able to create these for yourself. So here's a simple idea that will help you engineer your own winning ideas, whether it be for copy or just everything across your business. And the idea is based in mental models. Now, mental models is a rabbit hole, and for the sakes of this video, it's a good thing that I'm doing this for the third time because I went way more in depth than I would have liked. I'm going to gloss over a lot of the information about mental models and how they can be used and how you can use them. And I'm just going to tell you what they are. So mental models are a perspective from which you can view something. For example, a map. You get the map of London out, this squiggly circle, which is everything inside of the M25. You just look at that map, right? From that map, like the Deptfords and stuff's around here, Shoreditch is around here, Angels around here, Islington's around here. If you go south, you get to Brixton, you get to Clapham down here, Tooting's down here. You go even further down, probably past the map now, you got Croydon out in the nether regions. All of these places are put on a map, and this map is a model of London. Models are used because they are depictions of the terrain. They are not the actual terrain, but they are depictions of it, and they help us understand what to do around the area that we see ourselves in. Models are timeless as well. There are certain things that have stayed the same because we as humans have stayed the same, and I'm going to explain that, because where you can already see that these are just, you can already see biology, chemistry. I've got psychology here, maths, religion. I'll go into that in a second. But basically, models are timeless, and models are timeless because they do not decay the same way that examples or tactics or Loom scripts or cold email templates decay, or even whole business models decay. The retainer, for example, is an example of something. Now, models to methods. Methods are basically just, you can call them prompts. You can call them things that people do, or just instructions. Instructions are created from the principle, but the instructions themselves are not the exact thing to do. If I tell you to go and write a cold email script, which is 3 lines or less, you could write anything in those 3 lines. Whatever you write is going to be short, but you don't know what to write. But if I tell you, if you are going after marketing agencies, and the marketing agencies that you're going after all have HubSpot as one of their technographics, use these words in your email. If I tell you that, tragedy of the commons will kick in, and in 4 months' time, I won't be able to use that. So examples decay really, really quickly. They're called rapidly aging facts. Methods are the why behind the examples, and models are the why behind the methods. And you need to have models in your head. And here's an example of a few mental models. Biology, immunization. Take small amounts of damage so that the system learns and remembers how to deal with it. Do the thing first, know how it feels, then guide the way. So what I've done with these is that I've not actually given the dictionary definition. I've given the interpretation of it, which is like the snippet which you can use to use the mental model in and of itself. Because I could have just told you, go and buy a biology textbook from, junior high school level, or like first year of A level, because that's kind of like the same level that is recommended when it comes to finding mental models that are actually useful. Go and pick up a chemistry A level book. Go and pick up a psychology A level book. Go and pick up a maths textbook. Go and pick up the Bible. I could tell you to go and find these things, but you want to be able to use them. And the reason why I'm not going that far, because I don't want to go as deep as we need to go for, as far as like understanding mental models. So this is how I've written it. So edge effects. Edge effects is when basically explains when the diversity is higher at the boundary between 2 or more habitats. So if you have mud, and then you have trees, and then you have dry grass, and then you have patch of water, and then you have like a bed of like moss or algae or whatever thing is like the seabed, basically. All of those things, in the intersection of all of those small habitats, you will find more animals there. You'll find a higher variation of animals there. Now, how do you use the idea of edge effects? Take 2 sets of notes. The best example of this is probably some of the people in Client Ascension who I have seen have flown far beyond basically every single person inside of Client Ascension. They have either run up an agency before and are starting again in Client Ascension. So they have Client Ascension understanding of how to do things, and then they have their previous understanding. Or they joined Client Ascension when they had 1 or 2 clients, and then went and spoke to everyone. They just made friends, and those friends told them everything about the stuff that Client Ascension itself did not understand, or did not have, wasn't amongst the purview. This is something that's correct in school as well. If you are someone who does history and you grew up in the UK, you probably didn't learn about the British Empire. You probably just didn't learn about it at the like secondary school level. You just didn't learn about it. It's massive atrocities were created. Whatever the history, I don't know the history that well. A bunch of stuff happened. To take 2 sets of notes is to go out and find that stuff for yourself. So it's self-directed learning, and then directed learning. Those are the two sets of notes that you need to take. And those are the things that are actually going to make you way more powerful when it comes to business just in general. There's way more, right? And I'm not going to go into all of these because some of them are more important than others. But 25 cognitive biases. This is just psychology. Charlie Munger, influenced by Robert Cialdini. All of these kind of books. Operant conditioning, reward and punishment. This is called a super reaction. You get what you reward and punish for, especially if it's at random. If you want to control behavior, you need to incentivize or disincentivize. That is as basic as human life. It's as basic as child rearing, and it comes into play whenever you are dealing with people. Classical conditioning, association biases. If you want to do a bad job, then associate yourself with something bad, because another one of these biases is disliking bias, which is we overweight or we lump things in that we don't like, we overweight, and we become more disgusted about than things that we are neutral about. Authority. People we see as bosses have control over us. If you see the person on the other side of the sales call as a higher authority than you, then they can power frame you if they do so please, but you will not be able to control the sales call. You have to strip this idea from your brain expeditiously. The person across the room from you is not an authority figure. Do not treat them like an authority figure, because you will take a back seat in the sales call. That is the most visceral example of authority. And then social proof. Everyone knows about social proof. But the reason why it works is because we look to others for answers when we're stressed, pressured, or unsure. If you are using if you're using things like scarcity or things like urgency, if you do not have social proof, then what you're doing is you're applying stress and pressure, but you are not guiding action. If you have social proof, then you can guide action towards the thing that you are getting them to, that you're pressuring them into doing, which is book a call or buy your thing. So social proof works for that exact reason. And then there's things like maths, like inversion. Problems become easier to solve when you put them in reverse. Simplification, make things efficient and compact without distorting the original meaning. And then I guess factorization is probably the other example of that, which is just you want to multiply out, expand, and then combine elements. And that actually takes us neatly into the golf swing. And this is where, using the mental model, I'm just going to riff through this. I'm not actually going to go through all of this, because this is an example from a previous recording that I did, which just went too deep. So what I'm going to tell you about the golf swing is that when it comes to using mental models, there is a way that you have to think, which is unnatural, in the same way that a golf swing feels unnatural, but you cannot hit a 50 or 100 meter ball or 100 yard ball. I don't know golf terms. 100 yard, 200 yard drive. You can't hit that if you don't have a golf swing, if you don't have golf technique. You can't fight someone in Muay Thai if you don't know. You can't throw a good leg kick in Muay Thai if you don't know how to turn your hips. It feels unnatural because we normally kick in this motion. We don't kick in this motion, but you have to learn how to turn your hips. That is the same thing basically applies when it comes to using mental models. And the way to use mental models is the following. Number one, form a question. You need to have a problem, because a problem that is verbalized in the form of a question can be answered. And the better your questions are, the better your answers can be. You have to form a question. Number two, think about how to answer the question. This is where substitution comes in. So if I say, how do I find a girlfriend? Well, how do I not find a girlfriend? How do I repel every single woman that will ever come across to me? That creates some ideas in your head. You substitute the question with a question that helps you answer the original question, and that will allow you to work out how to answer the problem that has come across your way. Number three, work through the most relevant mental models you have. I'll actually give you a little peek as to things that can be created. But basically, when you have these ideas, catalysis, the acceleration of a reaction by a facilitator, the presence of something or someone can make changes happen with less effort. All right, we have a 17-year-old kid in the room that we're trying to sell on like a $149 a month package of some sort. If you have the parents in the room, if you have the person's parents in the room, the parents are a catalyzer. They can definitely accelerate this. They can accelerate this reaction. If you have a non-decision maker in the room and you're talking to them as best as you can, getting the decision maker in the room, the decision maker will catalyze whatever reaction is trying to occur. These kind of ideas, and this is the reason why I've written them out in this way, because if I gave you the dictionary definition of all of these things, it wouldn't make sense. But you kind of have to boil it down to the root. You have to understand, all right, this is what the essence of this idea is. Get it in one sentence, and you can use that essence in every single problem that you have, and work through those essences to answer some of these questions. Number 4, create an answer. Basically riff off from all of the mental models, all of the answers that you can create. And then 5 is just pick one and move forward. So the example from copywriting that I had down here, how do I create a lead gen system for my info product offer targeting marketing agencies? Number 1, think about how to answer the question. Well, okay, how do I create a lead gen system? Well, how do I create an offer that completely misses the mark? So one of the other mental models that Charlie Munger talks about is called no-brainer answers. It's basically just forcing out the common sense. It's, I have asked the question, answer the question with as plainly and as simply as humanly possible. Put on your Patrick Star voice. How do I create an offer that completely misses the mark? Tell people they need to pay you way more than it's worth. Have no info to provide. Compile useless horseshit. You know, just force out the common sense. That is all that means. And then working through the other mental models, conditioning. All right, how do I create an offer that completely misses the mark? Well, if we look at it from a conditioning perspective, if you tell people that there are no refunds and anyone who requests a refund will be chastised online, or you just partner up with a fraud, well, those are your ideas, right? So now you have things that you can invert. So instead of partnering up with a fraud, maybe get a trust pilot and get 10 or 20 people who are, you know, trial users of your platform to write 5-star reviews on Trustpilot for you. Cool. That is the inverse of partnering up with a fraud. The inverse of having no info to provide is having the best info to provide, or lots of info to provide. Have 120 hours on each topic to provide. Compile useless horse shit. Maybe you compile useful stuff instead. Compile stuff that has empirically worked for other people or for multiple people that are the exact same people that you're about to sell. Then you just write these things down. There's a bunch of other examples here about how do I create an impact, compelling info product, edge effects, combine a ton of resources from empirical evidence, personal experience, conversations you've had, and the topics that you've broken down and can get to the root of. You work for all of those and you just compile all of those answers. And now you have a list of things that you can test. You can do some of these, some of these, or all of these. And that's how you move forward. That is how you use the golf swing of mental models. This is probably way more over the top and not even confusing, but like in depth than I would have liked. But if you did like it, I'm going to start adding a lot more of this information inside of my school group. So if you're not an AI and operations person at all, you're one of the ADHD people that I come across all the time, just like my business partner and a few other people that I talk to about the way, then click the link in my bio and join my school group. Or don't. I don't really care.